So I'm watching the Hard Knocks offseason Giants last night, the episode that just came out last night. And you've probably already seen part of it, part of what I'm going to talk about because it went super viral. It was Drake Maye doing his combine interview with the Giants. So the Giants had the 6th overall pick, and they also had Daniel Jones, who's coming back from a serious injury. So they did their due diligence on all the quarterbacks, even though they didn't end up taking one high and they didn't end up trading up to get one. But that gave us an insight into how Brian Daboll, the coach of the Giants, put them through the ringer, right? I thought Drake Maye was the most impressive of the bunch. And it answered this question for me. It showed why Drake Maye was in that first group of quarterbacks. Because if you look at the stats from last year, if you look at the peak seasons for Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake Maye, Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels had a certain higher level of statistical production, protected the football a little bit better. They each have a Heisman Trophy. I have the numbers here. I mean, obviously Drake Maye was good last year, 34 total touchdowns, 9 interceptions, but both of the others had 5 or less interceptions and 41 or more total touchdowns. So they were in a level above of production. You could argue supporting cast and everything else, But if you were wondering why Drake Maye was in that top group, why it was those 3 as the top 3 picks, go watch the 2nd episode of the Giants Hard Knocks and then give credit to the coaching staff at UNC and whoever's worked with Drake Maye, Sam Howell, who was obviously there his freshman year and may be a sounding board for him, because he went into that meeting so prepared. Now, let's be clear. It was only clips, right? They're not going to sit there and live stream their 15-minute conversation, which is all it is, 15 minutes, with each player at the combine. But let's say it's a 2-minute clip, 15-minute interview. If you give 4 or 5 minutes of nice to meet you, shake hands with everyone in the room, this is where you sit, here's what we're going to do, they showed us 20% of the interview. Like, it's not like he was there for, 4 days and we got a 20-minute or 20-second clip. It was only clips, but it was a significant amount of what they did. And when I tell you he was good, he was good. It makes me more confident in Drake Maye as an NFL quarterback than I was before. And I was pretty confident in him before. I really liked the moxie and playmaking and intangibles and everything he showed at UNC. But I'm even more confident in the computer he has between his ears. And it was interesting watching Brian Daboll, the head coach of the Giants, keep leveling up with his questions, right? The one that's being compared to a lot online is Jaden Daniels against Drake Maye. And there was a point where you saw Brian Daboll go, all right, Jaden Daniels has messed up a couple times, right? He forgot the protection, calling a playback. He said F in on a route, which would be the F wide receiver, F player, on an in route. And instead, it was supposed to be X in. So Brian Daboll corrected him a few times, and they kind of, just went on with their conversation. Brian Daboll couldn't get Drake Maye, right? He was doing the whole, Razor Turbo, 64 Charlie, X under, F in. I just did it. X in. And then Drake Maye, right back. Ask him questions about the route. Ask him questions about what he's going to do with the read. Ask him questions about the perimeter. Ask him questions about the protection. Boom, say it again. Nailed it. All right, let's introduce something new. All right, we're going to go Linda and Rita, right? Linda to the left side, Rita to the right side. This is what you're going to do in that situation. Boom, 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 boom. And you saw him going back and forth. It was like people playing tennis. It was Brian Daboll kept serving it harder and harder, and Drake Maye kept returning it to the point where it never got to like the, whoa, let's pull it back. All right, let's have a conversation here. It was just him constantly answering the call. And listen, I do not pretend, right? I actually just said a couple minutes ago, I think the best way to judge someone playing football and on how well they play football is to watch them play football. I do not pretend like Jaden Daniels can't be a better quarterback than Drake Maye because he wasn't as good in one little exercise that they were put through by the Giants head coach who's coaching neither of them. But what it does show me is Drake Maye shows up. And what I mean by that is he prepares. You don't think every agent in football knows what Brian Daboll does when quarterbacks go to him at the combine? Every agent that these guys have signed to have had other quarterbacks go through that process, and Brian Daboll is not a spring chicken, right? He was. They kept referencing how he coached Brett Favre. He referenced it when he was talking to Caleb Williams. He was like, "Now, do you ever just gun that thing in there?" And Caleb was like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "Yeah, that's what Favre liked to do too," which, of course, that's what Favre liked to do. But
old guns.
but of course, Daboll, like the scouting report is out there on what he likes to do to quarterbacks. So agents can have you prepared for it, right? He's going to have you draw up a play. By the way, maybe my favorite question to interview a quarterback with. He says, all right, there's 45 pass plays in a game. For every single pass play for one game, you have to call the same play call. What's your play call? Right? So we might run the ball 30 times. We're going to throw it 45. You have to call the same pass play on every pass play. Quarterback, what's your play call? I love that for so many reasons. First of all, I love it because you get to watch them draw up a play, right? You get to see personnel. They get to build it from scratch. And then with the same play, you just throw every defense at them. All right, if they play two shell, where's your answer? Right? You said you can run this play 45 consecutive plays, which means if they blitz, if they drop off, if they play man, if they play zone, if they play two safeties, one safety, if they play nickel, dime, you have an answer for everything. So then he has a plate up there, and you go, all right, they play two-man. Right? All right, they put an extra defensive back on the field. Where are you looking now? All right, they're going to blitz. What do you do with the protection? I love it. It allows you to get 500 questions in 2 minutes. Without having to draw up a new play every single time. It's a great question by Brian Daboll. Agents know he asks that question.
I think it's also shows what the comfort level is for the player too. It's like this is like my safe space.
Yeah, true.
You know, it's like hey, I'm comfortable with like only these underneath routes. If I only got to call one, I want this.
Yeah, or sometimes it's comfort with the player. This is where we put Malik Neighbors, and it's like okay. He's a zone beater, he's a man beater, he's a blitz beater. Malik Neighbors does a little bit of everything. There's different ways to take it. But you saw Brian Daboll going, all right, this is someone I can throw a lot at, and they're prepared. Right? He came in with a play that he understood, that he knows inside and out, and he's ready to go. Right? Sometimes even like pro days and stuff. Right, because what are pro days? They're the underwear Olympics, right? You're in shorts and a T-shirt. Everything's scripted. Everybody looks good. But I kind of look at it as, do you care enough to put together, work hard enough with your wide receivers to be prepared enough to look good, right? The players that show up and are 5 minutes late and they're asking their coach, all right, what route are we throwing next? I'm going like, didn't you rehearse this 10 times? This is the biggest job interview of your life. Going to the combine where most of the top guys don't throw, don't run, don't do the shuttle, don't do any of that, I'm going like, you better crush the interviews. You better be really prepared for the interviews because this is a big job interview. By the way, I think the same thing at regular job interviews. I haven't had the, I don't hire many people in the positions that I've had in my career, but the few times I've had, if they're going like, oh, what's the name of your company again? Or if they're going, like, just a half reference to like, well, as you had on your listing, you're going to ask me to do this. And I'm going like, all right, good. You did some research. Drake Maye crushed he cares about it. And guess what the Giants did? If you go watch Hard Knocks, at least the way they edited it together. Who knows if the timeline was actually this way? Pretty much right after talking to Drake Maye, they were like, we need to go talk to the Patriots about what it's going to take to trade up to number 3. Obviously, they couldn't make it work, but that's a pretty good coincidence. To have us all watch these and go, wow, Drake Maye's impressive. And then suddenly the Giants are like, we got to go talk about trading up to the pick where Drake Maye ended up going. It's a good sign for Patriots fans. It's a good sign for UNC fans who hope he makes $500 million and comes back to donate something.
Well, we talked about, 30 days. Well, now it's 29 days until the Carolina Panthers play a preseason game. It happens to be against the New England Patriots and Drake Maye. So then there you go. We'll get to see all of it.
We'll get to see it all. Don't expect Drake Maye to not know the plays that first day, is all I'm saying.